everybody. It's 10 o'clock. We'll get started. Please sit up straight. Om. 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 Gananam tva ganapatikum havamahe kavim kavinamupamashravastamam ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पतान् शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामविद्यवत् ॐ गणेशाय नमः ॐ सरस्वत्यै नमः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये वागीशाद्या सुमनसः सर्वार्थानामुपक्रमे यं नत्वा कृतकृत्या स्युः तं नमामि गजाननम् वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय कोटिसूर्य समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारंभं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ओम शांति शांति शांति। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ब्रह्मानन्दं परमसुखदं केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिं द्वन्द्वातीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमस्यादिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वधी साक्षिभूतं भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि सद्गुरुं तं नमामि श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्य केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं यस्य सन्निधि मात्रेण सर्वे शिष्याश्च सेवकाः कर्मक्षेत्रे प्रवर्तन्ते चिन्मयं तं नमाम्यहम् Chinmayam tam namamyaham. Let us do the Pratasmarana Stotram. Pratasmarami hridi samspuradatma tattvam Satchit sukham paramaham sagatim turiyam Yat swapna jagara sushuptam avaiti nityam Tad brahma nishkalamaham nacha bhuta sangaha Pratar-bhajami manasa vachasamagamyam Vacho vibhanti nikila yadanugrahena Yanneti neti vachanai nigama vochuhu Tam deva deva majamachyutamahuраgyam Pratarnamami tamasa paramarkavarnam Purnam sanatana padam Purushotamakyam Yasminnidam jagadasheshamasheshamurtau Rajvam bhujangamayiva Pratibhasitam vai Rajvam bhujangamayiva Pratibhasitam vai. Hari Om everybody. Welcome back to our Vedanta classes. 2 weeks ago, we started a new Prakarana Grantha, a very popular Vedanta text, Upadesha Saara, composed by Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi. In our introductory session, we saw a brief introduction to Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi. We saw that there are 3 famous texts called Ramana Prasthanatraya. We are studying one of them. The other 2 are Sat Darshanam and Ramana Gita. As we saw in the introduction, our Upadesha Saara has 30 verses. And we saw in the background Puranic story where Lord Shiva gives this essential teaching of Vedanta to Karmakandis, who were mainly focused on the ritualistic portion of the Vedas for their own siddhis, etc. With that, let us chant the first 3 verses. Because they are all related to Karma Yoga. Karturagnaya prapyate palam Karma kim param karma tajjadam Karturagnaya prapyate palam Karma kim param karma tajjadam Krutimahodadau patana karanam Palama shashvatam gati nirodhakam Krutimahodadau patana karanam Palama shashvatam gati nirodhakam Ishwararpitam nechaya kritam chitta shodhakam mukti sadhakam Ishwararpitam nechaya kritam chitta shodhakam mukti sadhakam. Reason I repeat it twice is so that you get the tune for the next 27 verses as well. Last week, we saw a very detailed explanation of the first shloka. We learnt that the results of the action are obtained by the injunction of the karma phala data. We also saw how the jiva has evolved from paristhiti-vadi to karma-vadi. Paristhiti-vadi does what? He changes time, space, vastu, vyakti. 4 variables in order to get momentary happiness. As he graduates to a karma-vadi, he accepts that there are karmic laws. There is a lawmaker, karmadhyaksha, and the giver of the results called karma phala data. We also learned in the first shloka last week that karta, the doer of the action, needs a karana, instrument of action, to do the karya, action itself. And we also learned action itself has no independent existence. We also learned in the first shloka that action is not limitless and total fulfillment is not possible through karma alone. We learned that karma kimparam, that action itself or karma is not supreme. Actions being themselves conditioned by time, space, person's ability to do karma. So no matter what the addition, multiplication, or any other geometric progression of the finite actions will not give us infinity. Meaning, it does not give us permanent happiness. We should remember that premise. But the most important key takeaway from last week is that karma phala data, the giver of the result, gives based on the cosmic laws. And jiva is ignorant of these laws of nature. But jiva is performing actions to satisfy its ego, ahankara, and one more term, karma phala asakti, for its own selfish interest. Now let us see what happens when we do sakama karma, meaning fulfilling my desire for my sake, my ego, meaning me, my family, etc. What happens? That is where second shloka, Kruti maho dadau patana karanam palama shashvatam gati nirodakam. When we do kamya karma, remember, kamya karma is desire prompted action. Kruti mahodadau patana karanam. Palam ashashvatam. Gati nirodakam. So 3 aspects. Here Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi ji is emphasizing how we need to develop vairagya or dosha drushti. We actually studied the whole text of Bhaja Govindam The focus was developing dosha drushti, to see the defects in the world and develop pratipaksha bhavana. I'm using these terms freely now because you have all been exposed to these terms, at least the ones who are regular. Palam ashashvatam, indicating the temporariness of the result of action when we perform. The etymology of palam is Palgutaya layam gachati, meaning it is faltu, it is essenceless. That which is something meaningless. No need even to say ashashvatam. We should also remember that knowledge also does not produce moksha, give us moksha. Our Swamiji always used to say, moksha gnanam does not give you moksha. It tells you that you are nitya shuddha buddha mukta. You are ever liberated. So in this shloka, ignorant of this knowledge, when we perform the actions with selfish desires, selfish expectation of results, it becomes the cause for our fall. Maha udadau, where we fall into this vast ocean of karma. It is a very vicious cycle. Add a chart in there. A very vicious cycle that I'm showing you on the screen. Avidya, kama, karma. In Vedanta, we call it anartha parampara. Vasana, karya, chinta. Vasana, karya, chinta. It is not a merry-go-around, it is a sorry-go-around. Remember our happiness equation. When we keep satisfying the desires, other desires are right behind. Like that tissue box, if you pop one up, the other one pops right back up. Or it is like that silkworm. From its own saliva, it produces the thread. And it gets caught in its own cocoon. This I am not talking about our regular vyavaharik karma alone. I am talking also of the Vedic karma. We are always engaged in karma for our sense gratification. It is called karma maha samudra. You know, when we are in the middle of the ocean, you don't know where the shores are. How deep is the ocean? It seems endless. Then there are sharks and crocodiles of anger, jealousy. In this, the bigger fish swallows the smaller fish. It is not live and let live. It is kill and get killed. Like, for example, frog eats a little insect and the snake eats the frog. Like the survival of the fittest, they say. So that patana means, literally means fall. There is physical fall and there is also moral degradation, we say. Loss of character. When we compromise on the values, it is a moral fall. Like they say, when you don't stand up for something, you fall for everything. Then there is this spiritual fall. We have seen in many of the Puranic stories, highly accomplished sadhakas have fallen because of their inherent weakness. Physical, emotional, intellectual weakness. That is what is Gati Nirodhakam. We know from our experience, results are impermanent. I have given you all the defects. It comes and goes. Agama apayi. There is arrival, then there is departure. But the damage caused by that is permanent. It is kind of like earthquake. When earthquake happens, you have to kind of do what? Disaster management. It comes just for a few seconds, causes all the damage. Karma phala, the result of our actions is like that. When we do karma with aham bhava, selfish motive, it causes the man to fall into this deep ocean of samsara. And that, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi ji says, is an obstacle for the seeker, Gati Nirodhakam, in his or her spiritual progress. Even great achievers in many fields, we see that they fall for their weakness. In the first shloka, Karturagnaya prapyate palam karma kim param karma tajjadam. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi ji established the existence of the Lord as omniscient, omnipotent, the one who presides over all of our actions, Karmadhyaksha. He is Sarvagna, all-knowing. He is Sarva Shaktiman. He is all-powerful. Let's explore two terms. Karmadhyaksha, Karma Paladata. Giver of results based on the cosmic laws of nature. We also learned that karmas, or our actions, have no independent existence. They are not capable of giving results on their own. They are finite, they are limited. These were pointed out in our story that I told you in the first class, where he established Ishvara. Those who are ignorant and non-believers, how do they perform their actions? That I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, kartrutva, I am the enjoyer, bhoktrutva. and we fall into this ocean of karma. A good reference is there in Viveka Chudamani by Bhagavan Shankaracharya. I know we haven't studied the text. I'll just give you the reference. You can take a note of that. Like a rubber ball. During childhood days, we used to just throw it up the stairs, and how it used to fall and you would catch it, right? Lakshachutam chetyade chittamishat bahirmukam sannipate tatastataha pramadata prachuta keli kandukah sopana panktau patito yata tatha. This rubber ball, when it falls, first couple of steps it falls slowly, then it gains that momentum, and it's hard to catch, right? You don't know, unpredictable. So here in this shloka also, moment you fall, before it gets too much time, recover from that quickly. We got to get up before it gets its momentum. Bhagavad Gita also is a good reference in terms of karma yoga. Karmanyetu adhikaraha ma paleshu. Attachment to the pala or fruit of action, it becomes greater. Like the speed breaker in our progress. Meaning, rising back up from this kind of a fall becomes more and more difficult. When we study a text called Panchadashi, Swami Vidyaranya compares the jiva to a little insect that gets caught in that whirlpool. You know, you might have noticed that in and around the lakes. Whirlpool of karmas. Urvate karma bhogaya karma kartum cha bunjate. Nadyam kita iva vartadat avartantaramashute. Vrajanto janmano janma labante naiva nivrittim. So, remember, in our class, our Mahavakya is what? Ego is not your amigo, so you have to let it go. So in Bhagavad Gita, when we study, there is elaboration in Karma Yoga. With what attitude should we perform the karma or action? When we get the result, with what attitude should we accept? This will positively lead us to moksha, liberation. Realizing that the results are impermanent, sorrow giving, what do we say? Dissatisfaction guaranteed. It obstructs our progress. Can it make us give up actions? It's a very strange paradox. If we perform actions, it gives us results. If it meets our expectations, we are temporarily happy. If it does not meet our expectation, we are not happy. If it does not meet our expectation consistently, then we are frustrated, angry, leading to all kinds of emotional responses. What am I to do? Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi gives the solution in the next shloka. Ishwararpitam nechaya kritam. Ishwararpitam nechaya kritam. Chitta shodhakam mukti sadhakam. Ishwararpitam na ichaya kritam. Ishwararpitam karma ichaya na kritam. Chitta shodhakam tena mukti sadhakam cha bhavati. Here, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi is he has already pointed out two things in the previous shloka. Patana Karanam, the cause for fall, and Gati Nirodhaka, the obstruction to our progress. When we do it with selfish motive, it is the cause for our fall. But when it is done with the right attitude, when it is done with the right motive, it becomes Chitta Shodhakam. It is a mind purifier. It is a catalyst for mukti or liberation. Now let us examine with what attitude. Ishvara Arpitam. If the karma is Arpitam, dedicated to the Lord, to Ishvara, the Lord of the universe, who is the creator, who is the Isha, the one who rules in a just way, fair way. That karma, when it is dedicated to the Lord, na ichaya kritam, that karma will purify the mind. I hope you got that finer point. Let us examine further the questions that come. What is this method of offering? Is it possible to do actions without any desire? How is it helpful? What is in it for me? This we need to understand with the help of the earlier shloka. When it is found that karma kandis were dedicating it to themselves, for their own sense gratification, for their own siddhis, ahankararpitam kritam karma. It is a problem. Na ichaya kritam, without selfish desire, without the desire for fruits of action, then one might say, there is no motivation for me to do any action. Because of personal desire, I am motivated to perform an action. What is in it for me? For 1 hour, we went through last week how Ishvara is omnipotent, omniscient through logic, through Vedas as Pramanam. Please revisit that module if you can. We dedicate all our actions to Ishvara in the spirit of what? Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, Sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhave. Or we say mamopata samasta duritakshayadvara Shri Parameshwara Prityartham. Or when we say Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. When we do these type of sankalpa, then the desire is not self-centered, it is dedicated to the Lord. Na ichaya kritam. Here it is not done with selfish motive. See, what are the impurities of the mind? I have told you this many times in my previous lectures. As human beings, we have three types of problems. One, impurities of the mind. Number two, restlessness of the mind. It is not there, chanchalata. Then there is ignorance of the self. In fact, the ignorance of the self is the cause for the other two problems. Because of these inherent tendencies called vasanas, they manifest as desires. Raga, likes. Dvesha, dislike. These are the impurities in our mind. So when they are purified, we become sadhana chatushtaya sampanna adhikari, bestowed with fourfold qualifications of viveka, vairagya, shama adi shatka sampatti mumukshutvam. Then we become ready for knowledge. Then we are moving towards liberation. When we say dedicating it to the Lord, means, let me explain that a little bit. You know, when somebody writes a book, they say dedicated to my beloved wife, dedicated to my children, or dedicated to my guru or my teacher. Some may even dedicate their work to the nation. So here, when we do an action, we do a mental note, mental sankalpa, that I dedicate this to the Lord. Na ichaya kritam. Not prompted by personal desires. You know, when we were in the ashram, studying the Vedanta course, during that time, my responsibility was to put a list every week for all the seva for all the students, brahmacharis and brahmacharinis. We used to give seva that they did not like to the students so that they can overcome these likes and dislikes. Have you noticed, even in our diet, whatever tastes good with all the fat content or the butter content and whatever, they say it is not good for you. When I used to work at Ford Motor Company in product planning and strategy office, I had a good friend by name Mark Silverberg. He always loved what Veena ji used to pack for me for lunch. Mark was stuck with these. He called it the diet bars. Whenever I warmed up my Indian food that I used to take, Mark would come to me and say, hey, Venk, let me get a sniff of that. And he would always say every day, I will trade one of these diet bars for your meal. I said, okay, one day, really, I wanted to see how it tasted. Just to describe it to you, it tasted like sawdust, somehow bonded together, had no taste whatsoever. But it had a beautiful packaging. Unfortunately, it was not edible. I really felt sorry for Mark for consuming this at lunchtime. Obviously, he was tempted to get a sniff of my delicious lunch. Joking apart, we are grateful to our bosses, our company, for keeping us gainfully employed, especially during tough times when there is a recession. We say, I serve Ford Motor Company, I serve GM, I serve Boeing. They gave us these jobs because of our intelligence or our secular qualifications. I should also mention Intel and other semiconductor companies here. But they gave us job because of our secular qualification, our intelligence. But we do not thank the Lord enough who gave us that intelligence. Our Puja Guruji always says, when we get a wristwatch, we say thank you. But we never thank the Lord who gave us the wrist in the first place. The one who gave us the senses, the organs of action, the pranas, the discriminatory intellect to think between not just right and wrong at the moral plane, but to think what is real and what is unreal, what is temporary and what is permanent. To quote our Puja Gurudev, all the ability I have is a gift from him. And what I do with it in return is my gift back to him. What a powerful statement. My duty is to serve him. While performing the duty, I need to remember Lord as Karmadhyaksha. He is the master, I am his servant. That humility and surrender to the Lord will empower us with greater qualities away from bondage towards liberation. So we need to treat every action that we do as worship to him. Even further, when we get the result, remember the Lord as Karma Paladata. It has come to us as Bhagavan's prasad. Ishwararpitam nechaya kritam chitta shodakam mukti sadakam. See, this is the secret Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi is giving us as to turn, how to turn this simple karma to karma yoga. This is upliftment in thinking. So the main three features of karma yoga are when we do our kartavya karma, obligatory duties. It must be done, dedicated it to the Lord. Arpita buddhi. Performing as worship to the Lord. Dasya buddhi. I am his servant. I am his dasa. All karma phala, the result of the action, should be accepted as prasada. Prasada buddhi. This is a simple 3-point plan. Easy to remember. Arpita buddhi, dasya buddhi, prasada buddhi. Most of the times, this attitude does not remain with us. What do we feel? We feel, I did it. You know, I am a self-made man. It's my own ability. But the key here is to remember the prasada buddhi. Even when things don't go well, that is when it is very hard to remember. That is when it is very difficult. Even when we get food that we don't like, we say, Brahmarpanam Brahmahavihi. We thank the Lord for His grace. I hope you got the 3 finer points. We will continue next week. Ishwararpitam Nechaya Kritam Chitta Shodhakam Mukti Sadhakam. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrutyorma Amrutam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Once again, happy Navaratri to all of you. I'll please stay back, and I know it is a lot of material to chew on. Please unmute yourself.